The Old Testament reading for today, the first reading about the prophet Elijah, really sets, I think, a good tone for us and a good reason to reflect on the Eucharist. Over the last several weeks, we've been reading from John chapter 6, and we're going to continue doing that. But the issue is, what does this bread from heaven, what is this bread of life? What does it mean for us to eat the body and drink the blood of the Lord as he commanded us to do? And what is meant to be the effect of that in our discipleship, in our following, in our walking here on the face of this earth? The reading from about the prophet Elijah is taken after Elijah has just done some momentous, let's call it a momentous occasion, rather bloody, rather probably distasteful to us in the way that we think today, at least I hope it is, but not so in their time. The king at the time, his name was Ahab, and Ahab was one of Israel's, let's say, less celebrated kings. That's probably being charitable. It wasn't very much honored or respected or anything. And one of the things that Ahab did is he married into a pagan family, and his queen was Queen Jezebel. And Jezebel continued her worship of Baal, the Canaanite pagan god, which made the prophets very upset with Ahab because he was allowing this to happen. Well, if you read the story, you'll know who ran the house. And it wasn't Ahab. It was definitely Jezebel. So, just prior to this passage, Ahab and Jezebel gathered the 400 prophets of Baal that they had, and Elijah the prophet at Mount Carmel. And they were to have a contest to see if Yahweh was really God or not, or if Baal was the God or not. So they get up on this mountain and they build their altars. They each build an altar, and they take the fatted calf and kill it, cut it up, lay it up on the thing. They build it out of stone and then put all the wood on it, then the carcass on it and everything else. No one lights a fire. They tell the prophets of Baal to go first. And so they dance around their altar praying to Baal that he'll light the fire and so on. And they dance around and dance around. Nothing happens, of course. Elijah taunts him. He says, "Sing louder. Maybe your God is asleep." So they sing louder and nothing happens. And they go round and around and around on the thing. And he says, "Maybe he's busy doing something else. You must shout louder." So they shout louder, and of course nothing happens. Then it's Elijah's turn. First thing he does is he orders them to take jugs of water and pour it all over the wood. And then more water all over the wood. And then more water till it ran down into the trench around the altar. And he barely gets his prayer started asking Yahweh to come and light this, then boom, and it burns. Well, he takes the 400 prophets of Baal down to the stream and slits their throats. That's what I said. It ends a little on the gory side, but Yahweh was God in Israel, not Baal. Jezebel is after Elijah, and Elijah flees and runs into the desert little story we have today. He is literally running for his life because she is going to kill him if she catches him. He runs out into the desert and falls under a broom tree. It's interesting, in Hebrew, the word for broom tree is the same word for hospitality. A broom tree in the desert would give you lots of nice shade. He falls under a broom tree and falls asleep, praying that God would take his life. And then, of course, the angel comes with the hearth cake, jug of water in the middle of the desert, and says, "Here." He snoozes again, and the angel wakes him up. "Come on, eat. Eat and drink, else the journey will be too long for you." Eat and drink, else the journey will be too long for you. We ought to heed those words. Get up, eat and drink, else the journey will be too long for you. You know, it was quick on the part of the early Christian community who were Jewish and became Christians, followers of Christ. It was so easy for them to see these stories in the Old Testament. This particular story where God provided nourishment for them for their journey, the journey of life. It was so easy for them to see that the different other stories that take place where God feeds great numbers of people. You know, Jesus will come along, you'll have what we had a few weeks ago, the multiplication of the loaves and fishes. God wants to feed and nourish us. He knows the struggles that we have in life. He knows how hard it is for us sometimes, the disappointments we have, the letdowns, the times we don't live up to what we even think we should be or do, or we don't choose rightly, or we act as if we're not disciples, or we deny him and walk away, or there's whatever. The ways we choose not to live discipleship, he knows that. And he wants to feed us anyway. He comes along in life and he pokes us. Get up, eat and drink, or the journey will be too long for you. But he is the food that we get. And that's the tie to the readings today. He is the food itself. His body, his blood, Jesus Christ, true God, true man, whole God, sole divinity, everything under the forms of bread and wine. His body, his blood. On his command, we remember him like this, and he makes himself present to us in our prayer. That's how loved we are. You think God wanted to take care of Elijah the prophet? He certainly did, and he did take care of him. But I dare say, he got a jug of water and a hearth cake. We get the body and the blood of Christ. I think we won even more. We got more than what Elijah the prophet got in his gift of the Eucharist to us. When you come to communion today, when you come to share in his body and his blood, think about that. At least for a little bit, think about it. And have a grateful heart for what he's given to you. He means it. Get up, eat and drink, else the journey of your life will be too long for you. Let him be the nourishment that makes the journey possible.